Maya's hands told the story her voice never could. Cracked and rough like dried riverbeds, they bore the map of 16-hour shifts at the textile factory on the forgotten edge of the city. Each callus was a day survived, each scar a small victory against hunger. She worked the night rotation, the shift nobody wanted, where the machines screamed so loud you couldn't hear your own thoughts, and the fluorescent lights flickered like dying stars. She lived in a neighborhood the maps didn't name, a place where buildings leaned against each other for support, where water came in rusty spurts, and where dreams were luxuries no one could afford. Her mother lay in the next room, lungs weakened from years of breathing in dust from the same factory that now claimed Maya's youth. Her younger brother, just 12, needed books for school, books Maya could never buy. At night, after her shift, Maya would sit by the single window of their one-room apartment, hands pressed together in silent prayer, not to any god in particular, but to the universe itself. Please, let me be more than this. Let me matter. But the city outside her window never answered. It glittered in the distance like a cruel joke, so close she could see the towers of glass where people in clean clothes made decisions that shaped worlds. Yet she might as well have been on another planet. She felt like the old blind horse she'd once seen in her childhood village, pushed into a dark corner, forgotten, useful only until it could no longer pull the plow, then discarded. Some nights, the weight of invisibility was so heavy she could barely breathe. But Maya had inherited something from her mother that neither poverty nor exhaustion could touch, a stubborn, quiet flame that refused to die. The choice came on an ordinary Tuesday. Maya's supervisor announced that 5 workers would be laid off by month's end. She looked around at the women beside her, women with the same rough hands, the same tired eyes, the same unspoken fear. In that moment, Maya understood. Waiting to be chosen was the same as choosing to disappear. That night, she didn't pray. She decided. She'd heard of a free coding workshop at a community center across the city, 3 hours away by bus, held on Sunday mornings. She knew nothing about computers except that the people in the glass towers used them to build empires. It was a language she didn't speak, a world she wasn't invited to. But she went anyway. The city of her ambitions was more overwhelming than she'd imagined. In the workshop, everyone seemed younger, sharper, already fluent in acronyms she didn't understand. They had laptops. She borrowed one. They talked about startups. She was just trying to understand what a variable was. Nobody waited for her. Nobody slowed down. So Maya learned to run. She worked her factory shift from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., took the first bus at 6:30, attended the coding workshop from 9 to 12, returned home to care for her mother, studied on her phone, tutorials watched on the lowest resolution to save data, slept 3 hours, repeated. Breakfast was often old bread dipped in tea. Dinner was rice and whatever vegetables were cheapest that day. She learned to code on an ancient donated laptop that crashed every 20 minutes. She applied to 73 entry-level jobs and received 73 rejections. On her worst day, she sat on the factory floor during a 15-minute break, head in her rough hands, and whispered to herself, "What if I'm not smart enough? What if I'm fooling myself?" But then she remembered her mother's labored breathing in the next room, her brother's worn-out shoes, the old blind horse. She got up, returned to the machine, kept going. The turning point came quietly, as most real transformations do. A small tech startup impressed by the portfolio she'd built from free online projects offered her a junior developer position. The salary was modest, but to Maya, it was a fortune. Within 2 years, her skills had grown sharp and undeniable. She moved to a mid-level role, then senior, then lead. 5 years after that first Sunday morning workshop, Maya stood in a glass tower. She had the gold, the success, the salary, the respect of colleagues who once wouldn't have noticed her in a room. She could have stayed there, climbed higher, forgotten the factory and the flickering lights and the rough hands. But that was never who Maya was. She remembered. She returned to the neighborhood the maps didn't name, not as a visitor, but as a builder. With her savings and a grant she fought hard to secure, Maya opened a free technology training center in a rented space above a grocery store. She called it The Bridge. She hired instructors who understood what it meant to learn while exhausted. She provided laptops, internet, meals, and childcare. She personally taught the Sunday morning class, the same time slot that had once changed her life. The first students were factory workers, cleaners, street vendors, people with rough hands and silent prayers, people the city had taught to be invisible. Maya looked at them and saw herself. On the opening day, she stood before the first class and said, "You belong here, not because someone gave you permission, but because you chose to fight for your own life. This will not be easy. You will want to quit, but I need you to remember something. Success is not the gold you earn, it's the bridge you build so others can cross too." She paused, her voice steady and strong. Never forget where you came from, and when you make it, and you will, reach back, pull someone else up. That is how we change everything. Years later, when journalists asked Maya about her rags to riches story, she would correct them gently. It's not about rags or riches. It's about remembering that you were once invisible and choosing to make sure no one else has to carry that weight alone. The bridge grew. Hundreds of students passed through its doors. Some became developers, designers, entrepreneurs. Others returned as teachers. The neighborhood began to change, not because outsiders invested in it, but because its own people, now empowered, rebuilt it from within. Maya never moved far. She lived in a simple apartment 3 blocks from where she grew up. Her mother, healthy now with access to good health care, tended a small garden on the rooftop. Her brother graduated college, the first in their family. And every Sunday morning, Maya still taught the first class. Her hands, still rough from the past, now typed code that opened doors. But more importantly, they shook the hands of every new student who walked through the door of the bridge. Hands cracked and weary, but full of the same stubborn flame she once carried alone. Success is a bridge to help others, not a wall to hide behind. Never forget where you came from, because the true measure of your rise is not how high you climb, but how many people you bring with you, and whether you remember the weight of invisibility enough to make sure no one else has to carry it alone. The city may not wait for you, but once you arrive, you can become the one who waits for others.
Hi, please subscribe to our YouTube channel at Glitch to Gold YT and don't forget to put us on post notification.